Hey up fretheads, so you've learnt box 1 of your minor pentatonic, and I'm guessing it would be really handy for you to get some more mileage out of it. And that's what I'm going to show you in this lesson. This is going to be a super sneaky way to get more out of things that you already know. So for you guys who don't know what box 1 of the minor pentatonic is, I'll go over that because you need to know this as well. Let's play the A minor pentatonic because that's the position that everybody learns this in first. What you need to remember is there are two different stretches on this. We have a minor third and then we have a major second. This box 1 is 2 notes per string. So on this first one, you'll notice that what we do is we go 1, 2, 3 frets there. So we're going up, not including the one we're at. So 1, 2, 3. So we're at the 5th here and we're going to go up to the 8th fret. This is the root, this is the flat third. When we switch over to the A string here, what happens is we are a little bit smaller in the distance that we need to go with our fingers. So we're on the 5th fret and then the 7th fret. And that's a major second or a tone or a step. That gives me the 4th, this is the 5th. Then I move to the D string and that gets me the flat 7 and then the root here again because it's a pentatonic scale. Pent means 5, tonic means tones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tones. So those are the 5 tones that I have there. And this is the scale starting again. So that's the root note. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry that on. So there's the root. And then I move to the G string and I get the flat third, the 4th there. There's another 2 notes per string idea there. And you can see it's a major second apart again there, a whole step. In fact, these 3, the A, the D, and the G, all use that same pattern. And then what happens is when we get back to the B string, we resume back on that minor third pattern that we had before. We had the 5th here. Then we have the flat 7, then we're back at that root again, so we've gone up another octave, so that takes us up 2 octaves, and then what we tend to do is just finish the pattern off, because we want those 2 notes on that thin E string there, so we finish that on the flat third just there. So the whole pattern. Now, that is the first scale that most people learn, and it's a really useful one if you want to play solos. But what you really want to do is you want to be able to exploit all the areas of the neck, and that firmly fixes that in one position. And this sneaky trick that I'm going to show you actually moves it into all the positions, and what we're going to do is we're going to half the information that we already have. So let's look at this scale again. Like I said, if I go from the 5th to the 8th here, that's the root to the flat third, this is the 4th, this is the 5th, this is the flat 7, then this is the root. We have the whole complete scale between those 2 notes in that octave. I kind of think of octaves as being bookends, so if you have them bookends, you can put whatever scale you want into. So this is the sneaky part of this, guys. This doesn't just apply to minor pentatonics. This is just the one I'm showing you today. You can use any scale you can think of. Now, what I can actually do is I can take that same idea of the pattern that I had here. I can think of it as the minor third and then these 2 notes here to make this major second. If I join those up, I get what I call a trapezoid shape. Got that trapezoid there, and then I get a rectangle going from the A to the D string. And this is a pattern that we've seen all the time. We come across it in little patterns like this. There's other ways of seeing the pentatonics, but this is another way that I want to show you today. So essentially we have 2 shapes. We have a trapezoid with a rectangle on it. And that's all we are thinking about. But another way of thinking about it is there's a minor third, major second, and a major second. So if we know that this one here is going to be our octave, then what we want to do really is tap into octaves themselves. But before we tap into the octaves, what I want to do is just remind you about the fact that this minor pentatonic is actually a major pentatonic in disguise if we think of those 2 scales as inversions of each other. If this is the minor and we start on this pinky note up here, this is the major pentatonic. So look, this is going to be my root for my major pentatonic. This is the second, this this is the major third, this is the fifth, this is the sixth, and then we get to the root note here. So root, second, third, fifth, sixth. So once you've established where this octave pattern happens, you can quickly switch your thinking from major to minor really easily. So here we have minor, and this is going to be major. And what I'm doing is I'm going up an octave this way as well. So this is why your octave patterns become super important. So what the heck are these octave patterns that you're talking about, Ricky? Well, I'll briefly go over those as well so that you have them. They are on my channel in depth in other videos, but let me just summarize it quickly into the 5 shapes. We're looking at the caged octaves, and the caged octaves come from the caged chords. So here's a C shape, here's an A shape, a G shape, an E shape, and a D shape. But the information that we want out of those is just where the root notes are. So let's go back to the C shape here. And in this C shape, we can see that this is the root note here. And an octave up, I will find another root note just here. So that's a C, and that's a C. Now, these shapes are completely movable. So if I take this C shape and I move it up a whole step, then I get a D on the A string and a D on the B string. Let me move it up a whole step again. That's an E, and this is an E. This is an F, this is a G. So you see how highly movable that one shape is, and we have 5 to go at. So that's the C shape taken care of. We've got that out of the way. And I want you to just think of all those things that I was talking about there. They apply to all 5 shapes. So let's look at the next shape we have, which is an A shape. The A shape conveniently has a root note on the open string there, and there is the octave. So if we look at that, we can see in the shape it's the middle note. This is why I talk about this one all the time. This is the 5th, the root, and the 3rd, 5R3. So there is the octave. Let's move that shape up. Now I know that open fret is taking care of the lower note, so let's just move the shape up, and you can see it goes up 2 over 2. So that's a B, this is a C, this is a D, this is an E. So you can see I've got more than one place I can play this shape as well. Let's look at the G shape. There's the G chord that we all know and love. You might know it with this grip here. Right, this is the one that we're going to look at. We're going to start on the open G string here. And then what we do is we come up 3. We go 1, 2, 3 and over 2 strings. And that shows us where the other G is. That's the octave. Here's a cool thing though. If you know the note on one E string here, on this thin E string, then you naturally know it by default on the thick E string. It's good to see how that mirrors over and flips. But this is the one I'm interested in, up 3 and over 2, that one there. So that would be where the G-shaped octave notes are. That's a G, that's a G, that's a G. The G has 3 Gs, not BGs. That's something completely different. And then what we get after that is the E chord. So we've got the E major chord. Now, really handily, the E chord has an open E note there, which is the root note of the E chord. So there's an E. This shape works the same as the A shape. It's the 5th, the root, and the 3rd. So that's where the root is. So you can see that easily. Use your chord shapes to help you to find these things. So there is the root, and there's the octave. So that's an E, that's an E. And funnily enough, it uses the same coordinates that you would use for the A shape, which is up 2 and over 2. So up 2 frets over 2 strings. There we go. So that's an F sharp there, and that's going to be an F sharp there. That's a G. There's an A, B, C, etc. We can move up and down wherever we want using that idea there. Now the cool thing is, this is on the E string, and because it's on this thick E string, we can actually mirror again like we did with the G shape over on the thin E string. So we can see where that's going to go there. Now we've done 4 of the 5 shapes. We've done C, A, G, E, and the last one is going to be the D shape. We've got 3 fingers on here. These 3 fingers are the 5th, the root, and the 3rd. Just like the E and the A shape, we have this note in the middle there. We've got the 5th, root, 3rd. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the open D here. There's the open D string. there's a D, an octave up. So we've got an octave pattern there. We can take that same thing. There's a D, that's an E. And what we do is we use the same coordinates we used with the G-shaped octave. We go up 3 frets and we go over 2 strings, and that gets us the octave. So that's an E, and that's an E just there. Right, okay, and this is movable. That's an E, that's an F, that's an F. So this is a really handy way to work around. We are going to get back to the pentatonics. So we've got those octave patterns there. Now the cool thing with the cage system is you might know that the chord shapes link together to help you to play chords up the neck. But what we can also do is remove that idea of them just being chords and play these octaves instead. So if I take a C note here, there, that's a C, and I'm using the C-shaped octaves. Now, the way the cage system works is the acronym CAGED spells out the order of the octave shapes and indeed the chord shapes and any scale shapes. So what we're going to do, take that there. There's the C shape. Now the note that's on the A string there, it's shared with the A shape. So there's the A shape. So C shape into A shape there. That lands me on the G string. And if you remember what happened when I landed on the G string before, that was the G-shaped octave, which went over onto the thin E string there, which then automatically jumps us over onto the E string here. Let's go up 2 over 2. Finds us the next octave there. And remember, we have that other one over there, but we're on this D string here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that up 3 and over 2. There to get the D-shaped octave, and then that puts us back in the dusty end of the neck because we're past the 12th fret, and I'm back on my C, which is an octave higher than this one up the neck, and I can take that all the way up the neck even further until I run out of frets. So you can hear there that I have access to all those C notes there, and now it is time for me to show you what the whole lesson is about. So here is where the tire meets the tarmac. We're going to look at that pentatonic pattern that we had before. We've got the trapezoid and then the rectangle, but also you can see it as a minor third and 2 major seconds on those 3 strings. We're only thinking about that little pattern there. Now that little pattern happened on this E string. So if we use our caged octaves to find the note in the next position up, if we want that same scale, now what we're going to do is we're going to play the trapezoid. Here is the caveat, guys. When we cross from the G string to the B string, we have to move up 1 fret. So instead of playing it in the same position, it will sound awful. Trust me, I'll play it. It doesn't sound right. So instead of playing there on the 7th, I have to move up 1 fret and I get the same notes. So here I get my trapezoid, or I can think of it as minor third, major second, and then compensate, major second. I get the same pattern. That's the same scale, an octave higher than this one. Now that's a really useful way of understanding it, but it isn't the only place that we can do this. So here we're on the E shape. Let's think of the acronym C-A-G-E-D. And what we did is we played it in the D octave position. What we can do now is, because we're in that D position, let's move it up here to this C-shaped octave here, because once we get to the end of caged, C-A-G-E-D, we go back to C again. Now I can see that I don't have 3 strings to go at here. I've got this one. I only get 2 strings to go at here, but I can still use the idea and just miss out the last string. And you can hear that that works in that position there. What I can do now is utilise that C-shaped octave and move down onto the A string to find it as well. So we've got that there. So this is going to be my new position, and this is where I'm going to play that pattern again. I'm going to play a trapezoid, and I'm going to play that rectangle. Like I say, there's two ways to think of this. So let's look at this from the perspective of learning it as intervals. There's the roots, there's the flat third. So that's a minor third distance there. We've got our major second, and we've still got a major second there. Now we can see we've got the same pattern again there. So you can hear that it's just locked in between that little octave pattern like we had before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. And like I said before, the major and the minor are inversions of each other. Let's look at this. If I start on the pinky, this is going to be my major pentatonic. It's a C major pentatonic here. Now I had to compensate to get that last note by moving that over there. When I played the major pentatonic down here, that required 4 strings. Yes, the minor pentatonic requires 3 strings. But if we take the C major pentatonic here, you can see it goes 1 note on 1 string, 2 notes, 2 notes, then a single note on the string there. So you've got 4 strings again. But if we play the minor, then it's just going to live there. I can do that in this other position down here. Okay, let's pretend we're playing the major now. And remember, this is C major, so it's going to go. And then I've just added that extra string on there. So we get 1 note on 1 string, 2 notes on the next string, 2 notes on the next string, and 1 note on the next string. Now we've got to the A shape here, and the A shape goes into the G shape. Now we're in the dusty end of the neck. I could stay down here equally. Let me just play this here because I need to show you how the shift happens in this. We still have the minor third, but because we're crossing over where the compensation happens and we have to adjust up 1 fret, what happens is we lose the trapezoid shape in the way it looks down here. So what we have to do is we have to reverse it. We get this. You can see it as double stops as well if you want, if that makes it easier. But if we think about it from an interval perspective, we get a minor third. We compensate by going up 1 fret, major second, major second. We get the full 3 string pattern. So that's exactly the same as. And we can move that as well down the other end. Now, it's useful when it comes to caged system stuff to think of it not just as going up, you have to be able to go backwards. And we started on the E shape here before. Now, the shape that precedes the E shape is the G shape. So if we want to think about that, I can plot out the G shape like that and just see where that G-shaped octave is there. That's an A note. And this is an A note here. So we're going to think about the same thing. We go up the minor third, compensate, major second pattern, major second. So let me just summarize that for you. Let me play it through the shapes. We've got the E-shaped octave, which moves into the D-shaped octave, which moves into the C-shaped octave, which is limited by the fact that we don't have enough strings, but we can then use that to bridge ourselves into the A-shaped octave, which is here. And then from that A-shaped octave, we can go into the G-shaped octave, which means we have more than one position to be able to play this. And let me play that again in the context of having major and minor. So this is the minor pentatonic that covers 3 strings, and the major pentatonic, like I said, covers 4 strings. So we've got that there. This was where we started. So we're going to move that pattern over here again, and we're going to go compensate, so that's just a few positions that you can apply this idea of changing between major and minor. So if you really want to dig into this idea of how this minor pattern is actually the same as the major pattern, then you might find it useful to watch this video here that shows you a trick with the good old hand of rock.